Hello, everyone. I just got done doing yard work, so I thought I would just hop on here for a little bit. How is everyone today? Hello. I'm from Norway. I had a really good friend of mine in college who's from Norway. I haven't talked to her in a bit. I need to reach out to her. Where's everyone else from? It is hot out. I just got Ohio and from Missouri, Vermont, all over the map. Canada. I'd love to visit Canada. I need to get my passport updated though. It expired a couple years ago. Yeah, I'm in Texas and it's friggin' hot out here too. I just got done doing yard work. Like, I'm whipped. I was too whipped to take a shower already. I'm like, I'm just gonna sit and go live for a little bit and just chill. From Nevada, from Reno specifically. That's cool. Okay, guys, so if you have not been on my live before, I just kind of do like open Q&A. Like, I don't really have a topic that I come on here and talk on. I just kind of let y'all guide the conversation. So if y'all have any questions, you can just pop them in the chat. I left my narcissist in March, and now I'm dating someone who's amazing and understanding. Well, that's awesome. I'm excited for you. And just be patient with yourself. Sometimes, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it happened for me. There were just random triggers that would pop up in the relationship that I just wasn't expecting to be there. So that happens. Just be patient with yourself. It's been raining for the last 2 weeks. I'm jealous. We've had no rain. Oh, but y'all flooded. That's not good. So I'm loving the hot weather these past 2 days. I bet you are. And it's funny. It's like, I read that it's been raining for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, I'm jelly. And you're like, no, it's miserable. But I'm complaining at how hot it is. Okay. I'm at a point in my journey where I'm thinking about dating. Ooh. But dating online seems, hold on. I think that was part one. Oh, it seems like another very scary thing. Any suggestions? Yeah, dating online is a little scary. I mean, I'm probably one of the rare ones. My fiance and I did meet on Tinder, but we also weren't really looking for anything serious. So it kind of happened by accident. And the thing with online dating, I think you just have to know what you're dealing with. Like, you don't know, anybody can be anybody that they want online, and you just have to be aware of that. So sometimes you don't even get a feel for who the person really is until you decide to meet up, and then you start using your intuition and stuff. But you can catch some things like online too, like trust. You can, because I think it all just like, how are they even talking to you online? Like, are they even constantly trying to get your attention on the app? That's a little bit sometimes of a red flag. So you just have to know what you're dealing with. But what I will say, the first time that you meet anybody that you talk to online, please make sure it's in a public place. Or, like, honestly, what my fiance did, which I thought was really smart, is he was already out with his friends and I was already out, and he was like, hey, why don't we just meet up? So it was very public. He was with people he knew. I didn't go with my friends. I went on my own, but there were other people involved, and it was essentially just to like meet. So something like that is very highly suggested. Don't take him home the first day either. You've helped me more than you know. I'm struggling with financial parts is the worst. Yeah, absolutely. And PTSD is bad. Trauma bonds are real. They are. And they're a bitch to get over. So, and honestly, like, dang it, I did this yesterday when I was live on Instagram. I can't remember his handle name. His name is Cody, though. And he's a neuroscientist. And he talks about this a lot. And he's even said that undeniably, research has shown that getting over a trauma bond is harder than getting over certain addictions. I don't want to say the specific words on here, especially on TikTok, because TikTok and I have been arguing for a little bit. um, can I get help on how to get over my narcissistic father? So, if you are dealing with like narcissistic parents, I would highly recommend following Catherine Kleiss. She actually talks a lot about her narcissistic dad. Another good one to follow on that is How to Love a Battered Woman. She talks about her mother a lot. And then, oh, she just recently changed her handle. Her name is Bree. It's like Rediscovering Me or something like that. She just recently changed her handle. It used to be Abuse is Abuse, but I forget what. I really think it's Rediscovering Me or something now. But she's also really good. Oh, thank you for the roses. But I think one thing is, since I didn't grow up with narcissistic parents, I can only speak from the standpoint of just what I know. Hold on. I can only speak on just what I know from like talking to some of my clients that have dealt with that, and also just like the friends that I've made here in this niche that have dealt with that. You always remember that you were just a child, and you deserved to be loved unconditionally, and you deserved to be safe, especially as a child. So anything that was done against you, and this actually applies for both, whether it was a parent or romantic relationship, anything that was done against you had absolutely nothing to do with you. I know that's how they made it seem and what they wanted it to feel like, but their actions weren't a reflection of your worth at all. It's what's broken inside of them that they refuse to fix and refuse to mend. And I think the more that you can remind yourself of that and redirect your thoughts of that I'm not going to internalize their actions as a reflection of me anymore, that helps get you closer to reaching that radical acceptance. But like I said, for more specific content on that, please follow those other guys. And if you need me to, like, just send me a DM and I'll text you the handles if you don't remember them. Must have been sitting here for a reason. I'm listening and getting clarity on my situation. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you stumbled into here. I always and I always say, like, I feel it's a catch-22 that I always feel sorry when people do relate to my content, because that means we have a similar shared experience. But at the same time, I'm also glad it offers clarity and validation. Hello from Finland. Hello. Thank you for all the roses. That's so sweet. I'll just had a twister. Fortunately, that's not been too bad over here. I am in Texas, so we do get them pretty bad. That season's not been too rough this year, thank God. Last season, it was pretty bad. It felt like we were under some sort of watch or warning, like every week for a little while. And sorry, y'all, if I just randomly start just staring off into space, it's because I'm on 3 different platforms at one time. So I'm trying to keep up with the comments for everywhere. So I'm not just like awkward or zoning out. Well, I am awkward, but I'm not zoning out, I promise. I'm in the process of divorcing my abusive and controlling husband. How do I get past the guilt? Oh, that's a big one. I feel for giving up on him, in quotes. I feel like I'm somehow to blame for him not changing his behavior. I think this is such a great question. And first of all, I thank you for just being vulnerable about how you feel about the situation, because I think a lot of us feel this way a lot more than what we talk about. And there is that inner guilt that we failed, and not even that the relationship failed, but like almost like we failed them. Because a lot of us, and this isn't everybody's situation, but a lot of us, when we're trapped in here and trapped in these situations, and I know I felt this way too. I just felt like if I loved him more, if I worked harder, Like, I wanted to help him. Like, I saw potential in him, and it is a little egotistical on my part, but I was like, I can help him get there. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there was some non-ulterior motives to it, but like, I I'm not that good. Like, nobody is. Like, nobody's that good unless they're, and even like therapists and all of that, like therapists and stuff, they don't change people. They just give guidance and ask the prompting questions to get you to think about the things that you need to think about and reflect. But the person that actually makes the change is the individual themselves. Um, and here's the thing: you should never feel guilty for having to choose not only your own peace but also your own safety. And safety is not just in the physical realm; it's also in the emotional and spiritual realm. Because here's the thing: when you feel emotionally unsafe, it works in the same areas of the brain that when you physically feel unsafe. It processes the same exact way. It's the same fight or flight. It's the same neurotransmitters and all that stuff. It's just you're not safe. And there's nothing to feel guilty for doing what you need to do to protect that safety, but also to protect your peace. Um, and you didn't break them. You couldn't fix them, and it was never your job to fix them. The only mental health that you are responsible for is your own. Nobody. And my ex used to say that to me a lot during the relationship of, well, oh, if you ever left me, like, I wouldn't take care of myself anymore. That's not a compliment. That's not a sweet thing to say. Like, and nobody should be putting their mental health into someone else. Like, that's not a firm foundation. You take care of your mental health for you, and that's it. Like, because you want a better life. So just keep reminding yourself of stuff like that. If like guilt and grief is something that is a big struggle for you or anybody else listening to this, I do have a group coaching that's coming up on August 1st. And that is one of the topics that we're going to talk about. It's actually 4 weeks total. And one of the weeks is dealing with the grief and the 5 stages of grieving a narcissist. And the other topics are emotional management strategies, dealing with our anxiety, and then reducing the intensity of our triggers. So if that is something that you are dealing with, please sign up for the group coaching. It's 4 sessions total. It's $80. That covers all 4 sessions. There's also a payment plan option for it too. But that starts this coming Tuesday. And even if you can't make all the sessions, after it's done, you get recordings of everything. So if you miss one, it's not a big deal. But please, 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 please sign up for that if you're struggling with those, because I give specific strategies on how to deal with each one. You can sign up by going to the link in my bio. That takes you straight to my website. And go to the tab. I just built this website, so bear with me. It's not on the main page. Go to coaching services. Go to that tab, and it's in there. But that's how you can sign up for that. You can also send me a DM too, and I can just send you the link directly. So I hope that helped. Because I dealt with grief quite a bit. No, I'm sorry. Well, I did deal with grief a lot. We all are, but I did deal with guilt, because I did feel like I failed, but then I realized it was never my responsibility. Like, it never was. You're welcome. Okay, hang on. I see some other questions over on Facebook too, but I'm gonna jump back over here. Thank y'all for being patient with me. And if I clear my throat a lot, just ignore it. It was really dusty outside, so I've been sneezing like crazy. My narcissistic husband and I are supposed to be at a party in 15 minutes. He went to the gym an hour ago on purpose. What should I do? Well, I don't know enough about y'all's relationship to tell you exactly what to do. But do whatever you feel like is the safest option for you. So if like going to the party is going to make a more unsafe environment for you when you get home, I probably wouldn't do that. If it's more unsafe to be home when he gets home, I probably wouldn't do that. You just kind of, here's the thing, like, their patterns. And I would just do whatever is the safest option for you. That's unfortunately the best way I can answer that question. And then just a little free nugget for that. for that situation. If you do recognize that your spouse is narcissistic, and they are abusive, then there's a really important question that you have to ask yourself, which is, where do I want this relationship to go? Are you really truly wanting to stay? And if you are, then there's things that you need to be prepared for and learn safeguards and all of that. And if you are wanting to leave, then an exit strategy is needed. And if you are needing an exit strategy, under my, oh, you know what? I need to double check this, but if it's not there, I will add this to it today. I have um, it's like an article, like a free article that you can read on how to build an exit strategy. But just be careful, please. Should I stay or should I go? Is a good book to read when thinking about that. Yes, pretty much any. Dr. Romney is one of the resources that I trust. And I'm just going to leave it at that. There's a lot of resources out there that I used to support. Now I'm like, I don't know about this guy. And I'm going to stop there before I get myself in trouble. God, I'm annoying myself with how much I'm clear my throat. I'm so sorry, y'all. Make sure I haven't missed any questions. Is it normal to feel guilty for leaving secretly? For sure it does. I mean, for sure. I mean, yes, for sure it is normal. Sorry, I think I'm still recovering from the heat. But yeah, it is normal. And here's the thing, like, okay, it's not exactly the same as that situation, but I'm going to tell you why I felt really guilty of even thinking about going no contact. I didn't feel guilty. Oops. Sorry, I have to have like something in my hand all the time. I get like nervous energy. So if I'm like clicking or clacking or something, just comment and say like, Trey, that's annoying. Can you stop? But I had a lot of guilt that kept me from going no contact. Once I actually went no contact, I didn't feel guilty about it because it was like between 5 and 6 months later when I went no contact. So I did a lot of work during that time. But up until that point, it was not even something that I felt like I could do. And one of the reasons is because I had never had to cut somebody out of my life that drastically before. Like I've distanced myself from people and I've like maybe grown apart from people and all that, but I've never really had, up until that point, I never really had to just cut someone out of my life, like block them, move on, not talk to them ever again. So it felt really mean. It felt very hateful, and it felt very vindictive. And even though it wasn't, like the nature behind it was not vindictive, that's how it felt. And it's kind of the same thing of like if you're leaving in the middle of the night, like that can feel very sneaky and it can feel very mean and like you're just abandoning them and whatnot. But again, I'll repeat exactly what I did earlier. There's nothing to feel guilty for taking whatever measures, drastic or not, that you have to take to protect yourself, whether it's your inner peace, whether it's your safety, whatever it may be. There's nothing to feel guilty for. It is a consequence of their actions, and those consequences are not yours to bear. So, like, I felt bad that my ex was sleeping on his friend's couch for 3 months, but you know what? That wasn't my problem. It was consequence of his actions. He had a home, he had a dog, he had the yard, he had everything he'd ever wanted. He made me feel unsafe. I had to kick him out. And where he's at is because of him. You know, and I just constantly had to, Lisa Sunny from Stronger Than Before, I did an interview with her. And she had this hand motion. She's like, not my problem. Not my problem. I'm like, that's so perfect. Because it's not like it's releasing that responsibility. It's not your issue. It's not your consequences. It's not your problem. And you have nothing to feel bad for when people are dealing with consequences of their behavior. So I hope that helps with that. And you know, I wish that I did. So I got a question about advice about juvenile court to hear me in your concerns. I wish that I had some pretty specific advice on this, but unfortunately, I've never lived through that. Well, it's fortunate for me. It's unfortunate because I can't give specific guidance. What I would say is I would document everything. Like that's just kind of a good standard thing. Like document everything. Um, Even with my ex, I didn't go through divorce proceedings or anything like that, and I had a journal of stuff that I kept, like, and screenshots, and I kept them for a very, very long time, and it was just to kind of protect myself just in case I ever needed it. Um, but you know what? Reach out to and DM me if you need me to text this to you. Um, Her handle is La Disco Mama. She's been through the court part. Lisa Sunny also has from Stronger Than Before. You can reach out to both of them because they've actually lived and walked through that. I haven't, so I would rather refer you to someone who has lived through that and can give you more specific guidance on it than I can. Um, I'd much rather do if I can't answer the question. I like to point you in the direction of somebody that can. So I wish I could be more help on that. I'm sorry that I can't. Mm, okay. Sorry, I'm reading. I know I look awkward right now. I truly, I don't know if this question was for me or just in the chat. Um, I truly believe in the universe pushes us towards certain things to teach us. What's your take? Mm, I don't know how to answer that question because I don't necessarily 100% disagree with that kind of statement. However, I really hate the kind of statements of like, you know, well, God only gives the strongest or the toughest battles to the strongest warriors. Like, I hate crap like that. Like, I really do because it's so invalidating, especially when you're in the moment. And I also don't like when people say, like, oh, your trauma made you stronger. It's like, no, Susan, my trauma didn't make me stronger. I did because I put in the work from it. It like, yes, it was a catalyst to like get me onto this journey. And I would have liked to have gotten here without dealing with all that. That would have been great. Um, so I just think that phrases like that just they can be dicey and you have to be careful at the timing that you say something like that to someone because if they're in the thick of it, like I promise, like they probably don't want to hear those kinds of phrases. But I do somewhat agree with it that we do get led towards certain things. If anything, I believe that we were given free will. So I also don't think that like God allowed this to happen to me or the universe or whatever you believe in. I don't believe that it was allowed. I believe that I was allowed to have free will and I unfortunately did not use my free will in the best way and so I got myself into a pretty rough situation, but I was still being protected throughout the situation because when I got out of it, like I come from a Christian background. So again, if that's not your background, that's totally fine. But just the spirituality side of it, just pay attention more to that. Um, I got out and I was like mad at God for a little bit, and I was just like, doing this whole like kind of victim mindset with him, like, how could you let this happen? Sorry. Also, if you're on TikTok and it sounds like there's a fan blowing in, let me know and I'll put my headphones on because I have my phone resting on my computer. So if my computer fan goes, you won't be able to hear me. So just tell me if that happens. It happened last time I was live. But I had this like victim mindset with God and trying to could you let this happen and blah blah blah. And when I really started to think about it, he was still protecting me despite my decisions. And my ex was chronically cheating on me the last 5 months of our relationship. My physical health was safe. I never caught anything. The day that I kicked him out should have gone a lot worse than it was. I don't want to get into all of it because I told it on one of my last lives, but there was this dream that I had about a month before the night that I kicked him out. And a long story short, the exact details of the dream is what ended up happening the night that I kicked him out, like literally verbatim. And so that was kind of God's way of warning me. So, he was still there. It's just I have free will and I just chose in a way that was much harder. So that's kind of more how I look at it, if that makes sense. Sorry, I kind of got on a tangent on that one. My boyfriend won't meet up with me because he knows I want to break up. I need a face-to-face closure. Um, what should I do? Well, again, you know who you're dealing with. You know better than I do of how long they can drag something like that out. And I know that we all have like our preferences on how we get our closure, but like I would weigh the options, like the cost versus benefits. So is it worth it for me to wait it out so I can get the face-to-face closure? But if I do that, what am I going to have to deal with during this waiting out process? Or what I am I just going to do it another way so I can get at least some sort of closure now and can begin to the move on stage? Because as long as you're waiting for them to allow you to do it the way that you want to do it, you're in limbo. So, and nobody can answer that question for you. That's kind of an evaluation process that you have to do. Like, what's more worth it? Is it worth it for me to just know I would rather do it this other way, but that's not going to happen? Or if it does, it's going to take weeks to get there. And is it worth that process? Or would you rather just get some kind of closure now and go from there? I'm leaving on Monday while he's at work. Monday is a big day for you, my friend. Just stay safe and make sure you have somewhere safe to go for sure. I don't know if you're still on here, but someone asked, will I give advice? I don't know if there was a comment before that. So if there was, or is that just a general question? If it's a general question, yes. Hello, Miss Hearttails. I don't know if you're still on here either. I'm gonna get closure by burning the wedding dress. I kind of love that. I'm 2 years out from leaving mine. I never realized healing takes so long. You know, there's no timeline to it. I've been out of the. I just posted a video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it because TikTok's kind of punishing me right now. I think because I called them out, and so I have. If y'all don't know this, on TikTok, I have two now. It was just one. I have impersonator accounts that are like scamming or spamming out my followers and like messaging them trying to get them to send them money for zodiac readings. And I've filed 2 reports with TikTok about it, and they've not done anything. And so I made a video calling them out for it. And literally that day, one of my comments was reported that I did on someone else's video. I'm like, that's a little ironic. And then my views and stuff have been really low. Like even right now, like usually I have like 100 people in my life. There's only 30 right now in TikTok. And I think it's just because they're not pushing my stuff right now because I piss them off. What just made me get on that tangent? I was, sorry. Can you tell? My brain is a fun place to be, y'all. It'll keep you guessing. But I posted a video yesterday because I'm 3 years out. And I had this really weird moment the other day. It was Wednesday, actually. It was my fiance's day off. I woke up early and I went to the gym. He was still asleep when I left. And when I came back from the gym and I was pulling into the garage, I had this feeling of, I wonder what version I'm pulling up to him today. And it was so weird because I've never felt that way. I've never had I don't have a reason to feel that way with my fiance. And I was just very confused. And I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I got really frustrated with myself. And so I did my whole like, okay, where's this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? I have no reason to feel this way. And it made total sense to me because we just recently moved into a house. We were living in an apartment beforehand. And the change of the environment triggered this old but familiar habit, because the last time that I shared a house with somebody, that thought was a daily thought, whether it was me pulling into the garage and they were already home, or it was hearing the garage door open and my ex was pulling in, That was my thought every single day. I wonder what version of him I'm gonna have to deal with now. And I just think this environment change, because it was so out of the blue, it just it just triggered this old familiar habit. And I was just like, okay, well, I have no reason to feel this way. I know where this is coming from. Like I was able to be very gracious towards myself and not judgmental. But these are the kind of examples that we say like that the healing is not linear. And I don't even attribute that to like I'm still getting over my ex. What I'm still sometimes getting over is the mental habits that were developed because of that relationship. Like it didn't make me think about my ex. It didn't make me do anything like that. Like none of that happened. It was just one of those really ingrained mental habits the last time that I had a house with somebody. So it makes perfect sense to me why it happened. Um, and the key to anything, no matter how you handle those kind of situations, whatever strategy works or all of that, um, handle it with grace over judgment. And like I said, you can also watch that video that I posted yesterday, even though I pretty much just said what's on it. Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. And dealing with the same drama, it's hard to do new relationships after. It is. And you know what? I've really thought about this. Okay, can y'all just comment on here, whatever platform you're on, and tell me if this is something that you would be interested in? Because I have a lot of stuff. Like I have one-on-ones, I have group coaching, I have my the membership thing. It's like a coaching community. I have a course, I have 2 books. Like I have a lot of stuff. And I don't like just making stuff just to make it. But I had this thought yesterday, and I'm like, Trey, you don't really need to do another project. Because if y'all don't know, I'm also in grad school, like full time grad school. Um, and I have 3 kids and I have a fiance. So I have a lot going on. But I had this thought. I was like, I wonder, because I'm getting so many questions about the dating again side of things. And I think it's because of those skits that I've done. Your skits are the best. Oh, thanks. I just talked about that. That it's just like it's just a topic that's being brought up. And so I don't know if it would be good to do like some sort of like crash course group coaching of like, okay, here's the top 4 things that I wish that I had known before I started dating again, or if I did like some sort of like not webinar, but like something like that. I don't know. Like they're just something related to that. Can y'all just comment and just say like if that is something that you would potentially be interested in, or you can send me a DM because it's just a thought that I had, but I don't want to explore it if it wasn't needed, if that makes sense. Because I'm just like, I really shouldn't do another project, but I also don't like having downtime, which leads me to burnout. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. That's not Shell's problems. That's mine. Anyways, that's just something I was thinking about, and maybe not. I don't know. Um, should clubs inform the new targets of known narcs? Wait, can you ask that again? Should it says should clubs inform the new target of known narcs? I don't know if that's what that was supposed to say. how did how do you start speaking to others to help them? You inspired me to go back to school. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. What did you go back to school for? But I feel others that go through it need somebody too. Um, can you clarify on that question? What do you mean by like how do you start speaking to others? Do you mean like on like social media or like just like talking to other people? Social work. Oh girl, you're right up my alley. As I'm going to school for occupational therapy. Like we work with social workers all the time. If you're a member of a club and an narc targets you for his next victim. Hmm. I guess I'm still confused on. Hold on. Let me read it again. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, I get it. You know, as far as like warning new targets about a narcissist, I you can. the likelihood of them listening is kind of low. Depends on how far into the thing that you are. Because here's the thing, like no matter it, even if you do that, it's just good. They're so manipulative on that kind of stuff that they will turn it into that you're the crazy one, like you're the crazy ex or like whatever. I think especially, but if you do have like at least some rapport with them, like they know you and they trust you, and they know that you have no reason to make this kind of crap up. Um, then I mean, you absolutely can. I think once they're already in, oh hi babe. I know once they're already into it and like already starting the trauma bond. I mean, I think even if I had been warned, I probably wouldn't have listened. Because he also was like really good about explaining everything away. So I don't think it would have worked. Um, but I mean, you can. You just have to know that there might be repercussions to it, and they're going to make you out to be the crazy one. And just talking to others that are going through narcissistic abuse. So how do you start speaking to others to help them? I think it's honestly it's less about speaking to others and more about listening to them. I mean, yeah, I think that's what I've learned the most when it comes to like my one-on-one coaching. Because when I first started doing it, this was like a year and a half ago. I would just kind of like, and I was very new. I was new in my program in grad school and all of that. So I was kind of learning as I went, and I just kind of like, like I just threw all this information and all this kind of stuff, and I think it overwhelmed them. But once I started to really take that approach of like, you know what, I'm gonna let you guide this. Tell me what you want to tell me. Like, tell me your story, and them just being able to share it and being able to share it in a safe place, and also let them feel validated. And if I went through something that they're talking about, and like I went through the exact same thing, and I wouldn't necessarily go into details about it unless they wanted them. But just being able to give them that space to actually be able to talk about it, knowing that they won't be judged, knowing that they won't be told you just need to get over it, knowing that they won't be told it's just a breakup, where they can just truly say what's on their heart, what's on their mind, what they're struggling with. I think that helps them more than anything that we can say. Like, yeah, I get on here and I talk a lot and I talk, give advice and like all that kind of stuff. But I think in that coaching aspect or even in that mentoring aspect, how whatever it is, it's really more about just listening to them and asking like, okay, where do you want to go? Like here's what I always do in my calls is it's okay, what made you want to try this? What would you say you're struggling with right now? What part of your story do you want to share with me that you're comfortable with? But more importantly, where do you want to go? And here's how we can get there. And then we put together a plan and like all of that. But the most important part of all of that is tell me what you want to tell me and share your story and just letting them. Because think about it, when you tried to go to people that don't understand this and you've talked to them about it, they look at you like you're crazy, or they're just like, girl, like you went too good for him. Like, just get over it, and they're trying to be supportive, but like those things aren't helpful. They're not supportive and they're not meaning to be, but they kind of can be a little sassy about it. It's like, if I could just get over it, I would. Um, so just knowing that's what people tell me a lot when they book a call. It's like, I just need to talk to somebody that knows what I'm going through, so that was a really long answer, and I'm sorry. That was very long-winded. And it is great to have someone to talk to without judgment. And I'm honestly like that's why I do the calls. It's just so and even the group coaching, because people need that. I needed that. Like if I hadn't had that, fortunately, I had two friends that had gone through something like this, and they were such a saving grace for me, because it just I was hardcore in that oversharing. I couldn't stop talking about it. Like even I was crossing professional boundaries, and I was like talking to some of my clients at work. I was talking to my coworkers, like pretty much anybody that would listen. And and rightfully so, I guess people started getting annoyed about it, and they didn't understand because they either didn't like him or they're just like, he's just an asshole. Like, just, move on, blah, blah, blah. And there was truth to their statement. Like, don't get me wrong. But when I could talk to somebody and just verbally vomit on them and just get it all out, and they're like, yeah, I went through the same thing. It was so validating, and it broke that feeling of isolation. Um, it just helped a ton. So I hear that so often on my coaching calls is I just needed to talk to somebody that's been through this. How are we able to finally trust someone enough to even have a relationship again? Ooh, I wonder if my fiance is still on here. Probably not. He's at work. That was hard. That was really, really hard. I struggled with it for like the first 3 months of our relationship. Honest to God, like the first 3 months were so tough. um, and honestly, it really just came down to what I was trying to do was I had this deep need to just feel in control of my situation and of my life. And what I was afraid of was the stuff that I was out of control about. And obviously my biggest fear was getting cheated on again. I was like, I don't know if I can go through this again, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm very much at the point of like, if my fiance is ever stupid enough to cheat on me, like that's on him, bro. Like, I don't mean this to sound conceited, but like I'm a catch. Like, I know I am. I've got 3 great kids. I'm about to have doctor in front of my name. I'm not perfect, but I'm a catch. And if he wakes up and doesn't see that one day, then that fine. Like, fine. Like, I'm at that point now. But when I first started to date him, I was not at that point. Um, but I literally I realized that trusting other people is really truly a choice. Like we choose and we decide to put our trust into somebody else, like based on what we see, our vibe in them, whatever the case may be. But it is a choice. The thing that I had to really work on the most was trusting myself and trusting that I would make the right decisions if the red flags started to appear, and trusting myself that my intuition is right and that my gut is right and that I do have a good sense of other people's motives and all of that. Because I mean, you know what? If I was brutally honest with myself, I saw everything with my ex, but I justified it or explained it away because my self-worth and my self-value were so low that I was so afraid of being alone that I wanted to make it work. Um, and I remember even telling myself at one point, I know this isn't the best, but at least I'm not alone. Like that's how my mindset was back then. Um, but my intuition was right. My gut was right. I even knew when he was cheating on me. I couldn't find the proof, but I knew it in my gut. And I just that was more what I focused on was putting the trust back in myself, and that I can make the right decision on who to put my trust into, and understand I can't control what anybody else does. I, much as I would love to, that would be great because I am a very put together. Well, not right now. I look gross, but I'm very put together. I like order. Things have a spot, and I like them to stay in their spot. So that's why when my fiance puts his socks on my dinner table, I want to scream, I'm like ew, because I want my things in my place. Um, but I can't control what decisions he makes or what he does or anything like that. The only thing I can control is not internalizing anything that anybody does against me as a reflection of my worth. Another really long answer. Sorry. Do you have any good reads to get me started before school starts? Do you want suggestions in this realm, in this niche, or like social work suggestions? Because if you want social work suggestions, I don't really have any, but I have plenty for this realm. I had the best luck with the mental health coach and not an actual therapy. That's awesome. Like, and honestly, like, I even tell people, like, if you do coaching with me, like, this is not a replacement for therapy, but I have had people tell me that they feel like the coaching calls are almost more helpful because here's like the big difference between what I do. Because by the way, even when I'm done with my doctorate, I won't be a therapist. Like OTs, they do work in mental health a lot, but they work on the strategies and the implementation side. And that's what I do on the coaching. Coaching's about the day-to-day things that get you to break the trauma bond. And it's guided by like my lived experience, also my clinical training that I have on how to redirect like all the mental hurdles with like cognitive strategies and all of that. Therapy is really important because it answers that question of what has happened to me throughout my life that's allowed me to get here, that allowed me to accept these kind of behaviors from people and think that I can't do better. Um, that's what therapy is really good for, but I think that's why people have more success with coaching and more faster success is because they're working with someone that has actually done the lived experience part. It's kind of like when you go, I was talking to Catherine Kleiss about this the other day, and she made a great analogy. She's like, when I go to CrossFit, my CrossFit coaches are technically not personal trainers, but they have done these programs and they know how to have proper body form and like all that kind of stuff because they have learned it and they have the experience. So it's kind of the same thing with this. Speaking of, just in case you didn't hear earlier, I am starting a group coaching this Tuesday. It's called Unshackled and Set Free. And we're doing the 4 most common mental hurdles after you leave a narcissist. And it's 4 weeks total. It's emotional management strategies. It's how to reduce the intensities of your triggers, which I think that one's my favorite. And by the way, that one alone, if you're considering dating again, do it for that one alone, because I promise you, and this is not to be discouraging, but triggers happen when you start to date again. And they're triggers that you aren't even necessarily going to be able to predict until you're in the relationship again. So it's very, very key to learn how to manage your triggers beforehand, because otherwise, and I'm speaking from experience, I didn't learn how to manage triggers until grad school. He had already been dating for a long time by that point. So I was just dealing with triggers through willpower. So if you're considering dating again at all, do the group coaching just for the triggers week, because that's going to help you so much in the long run. And then the other one is anxiety and paranoia, and then dealing with the grief. It's $80 total. That gets you all 4 sessions. You get recordings of all of them, all of that. I just thought, so how can we be part of this group? Go to the link in my website, or go to the link in my bio, which is my website. Go to the coaching services tab. Thank you, fiance, for putting another cap on me. Go to the coaching services tab, and it's right there. It's called Unshackled and Set Free. Or you can also just send me a DM, and I can send you the link and answer any questions you have. But like I said, it's 4 weeks total, and it's $80 for all of them. And there's also a payment plan option, and you will get recordings of all the sessions, worksheets, exercises, all that stuff. So I love the group coaching because it's got that social support aspect to it, all of that. Oh, it's a corgi butt. We have a corgi. Oh my gosh, she's actually quiet. She's not interrupted this live. How did you get into coaching? I got into coaching because I had people message me and tell me, hey, if you ever start doing one-on-ones, please let me know, because I would love to work with you. That was honestly what did it. And I was like, oh, you know what? I hadn't even thought about doing that. I really had to deal with imposter syndrome really bad, because I was just like, can I even do this? Am I even like, I had started school and all of that, but I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. And I'm very glad that I worked through that, because I absolutely love it. I really do. My boyfriend was on drugs and I left him, but it's been 3 weeks and I want to go to him, but he hates me. Be very careful about going back, especially if there's not been any change or rehabilitation done. And I would just I would really, really reflect and ask yourself, like, why is it that you're wanting to go back? Because because you may be, what you might be experiencing, I'm not saying this is what it is, but more often than not, when we're experiencing this feeling, that void is starting, like we're over the initial trauma of leaving, and the dust is starting to settle if it's been about 3 weeks. And we start to realize that there's that void in our life where we're no longer, we just miss having a partner, and we just miss having that companionship. But just because there's a void in your life doesn't mean that they're the right person to fill it. And you know what? I understand. I mean, especially in my grad studies, I understand that addictions are real, like, and they are hard to get over. And I am also in the first person to say that there is life afterwards when they put in the work. That's the hard part, and that's the part that may take a while to get. And maybe you leaving is that final thing that happened in their life for them to hit rock bottom, to start picking up the pieces and get clean, go to rehab, get all the help that they need. Um, but that still takes time too. So I just be careful. Is my main message. What? My ex-narc is a war hero. Hero? What am I saying? Is a war hero. Came back from Iraq with a Purple Heart, and that's why it's okay to cheat on every girlfriend he's ever had. I'm gonna say no. Appreciate the service, but that doesn't give you the right to cheat. And like, no. 'At all. 12 years clean here. Congratulations. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Girl, if you got a story like that, you are gonna make such a huge difference in the social work world. I am so excited for you. When do you actually start? Or have you started yet? It's hard going back to school as a big kid. That's what I tell my kids. I was like, Daddy's in big kid school. It's tough because it's life doesn't slow down. You can't just call your bills and be like, hey, I'm in grad school. Like, can we skip these for a couple years? Like, I wish that would be so wonderful. So it's tough, but it's rewarding. Ow! An ice hit my tooth. Oh, it was cold. Pardon me while I chew ice. You're going to college with your stepdaughter? I love that. August 16th. Well, please keep me posted on that. That's very, very exciting. And who knows, we may have to collaborate together as an OT and social worker at some point down the road. She does. Well, yeah, she might not think so much. That's funny. What'd you go back to school for? Or go back to college for, I should say. Ever since I became a mom, I don't feel beautiful anymore. But you're helping me feel confident. Oh my gosh, becoming a mom is one of the most beautiful things in general. And I understand that. Obviously, I can't speak from a woman's perspective. I can speak from a gay BFF perspective, but I can't speak from a woman's perspective. But I had 3 kids with my kid's mom. She and I are still on great terms. We're really good friends. And I know that she struggled with that a lot too. I think a lot of women do. Again, I can't speak for one, but I think that a lot of them do. And you know what I can speak from is body image issues, because I have had this since I was 12. I had this weird thing happen when I was in middle school. I'm always been kind of the grower where, I don't know if you've heard, it's kind of, if you've seen people do this or if your kids do this, but I would kind of plump up a little bit and then I would have this huge growth spurt and kind of thin out. So I wasn't a steady grower. Like, I would just sprout up like 4 inches overnight is what it would seem like. And so I had this weird thing happen in 7th grade where I ballooned. Like, I mean, my grandmother actually sent pictures of me as a kid in a group chat not long ago. God love her. And it was from that time period. And it was actually very, very triggering for me, because it was that time where all these body image issues started. And it's still something I struggle with today. And what I've had to do is I've just had to really watch how I talk to myself, especially when it comes to my body. It's not easy at all. I do think, yes, I do work out and all of that, but I'm, like we've talked about, I am in grad school. I do have 3 kids and all of that. Like, I can't always just do the full gamut of stuff. Oh, is this a bot on Facebook, y'all? If so, tell me. I need to block it. I'm pretty sure that's a bot. We're gonna go ahead and block it. These bots are annoying. Anyways, but it almost kind of had to like. I really have to work on my self talk a lot when it comes to my body. But doing things that do also like investing in my body, like when I work out or when I eat well and all of that, it does naturally help my confidence, even if I don't look the way that I want to look yet. Because I don't. Like I still have a certain number that I would like to see. That there's still a certain size that I would like to be. But I'm able to at least know that my body is strong and my body is healthy. And I've started to try to say like my body is sexy. And it's something I still have a hard time believing, even saying it right now. But I've had to start saying these things to myself because I need to start telling myself a different message about my body. Because if I look at it and I say all of these negative things, then I'm going to stay stuck in that mindset. And it is freaking hard, girl. And my body image issues really represented themselves about a year ago. And mind you, like, it was actually after my fiance and I got engaged. Yeah, I mean, I could spend a whole hour on all of that, honestly. But try to work on telling yourself a different story about your own body, if that makes sense. Because especially, and my community, and I know it's hard for women too, but especially being in the gay community, like it is such there's parts of the gay community that are very shallow, a lot of unrealistic body expectations. So that it just, you get all of those messages too. And that can be really hard to filter through. And I've told my fiance, I've joked with him, I was like, I'm never going to have one of these Instagram bodies or Twitter bodies. Like, that's never going to happen. So sorry. Because I don't know if I want to do the work that it takes to do all of that. I got other stuff I've got to do. But I do take care of my body because my body deserves to be taken care of. And I think that's even another way that you can look at it. Like, my body deserves to be taken care of, not just physically, but also emotionally. So don't become your own abuser. Oh my God, I used to do that too. I started forcing myself to walk with my head up and look at other people instead of head down. The first time I was really, really noticing that I did that was actually in college when I would walk across the campus. I always looked at the pavement and I looked at my feet. And somebody actually told me one time, they're like, you walked right past me and didn't even say hi. And I'm like, what? And I probably did because I was like, wow, I really walk with my head down. That was the first time I really, really noticed it. I still catch myself doing it sometimes now. And it's also interesting too that depending on where I'm at, if I'm in a familiar place, I walk with my head up. But if I'm not familiar, I have that tendency to want to like, just don't look at me, please. Oh, okay. Sorry. I hope you're still on here. But the question was, how do I even start to explain my ex to someone that I just started talking to? First of all, you don't have to. You don't have to explain it to them right off the bat. What I told my fiance when I first met him was, because it is a natural question. Like I think it is a normal question for people to ask. Tell me about your last relationship. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the question. However, with that said, I just said it. I kept it very vague. So I said, my last relationship was very toxic, and there was cheating involved, and there was a lot of, I was cheated on. I clarified that part. I was like, there's cheating involved on his part. There was a lot of lying. And I walked away from it learning a lot of life lessons. And honestly, right now, that's all that I really want to share. I feel like, and I think I don't think I know. I also said something about like, I prefer to work on a need to know basis where you will learn more when you need to learn more. And I just left it at that. And here's the thing, if they push you and they pry you, bye, because that should be it. Like, especially if it's like a first date or something like that. If they don't respect that, or it's 3 days later, like, so you ready to tell me more about it now? Like, they shouldn't be bringing it up. Like, And my fiance never did. When I realized I was dealing with a trigger, that was the need to know basis. I would explain why. I would assure him that it had nothing to do with him. This is what I experienced, so this is why my brain's doing this. And ultimately, it was my responsibility to work on my triggers too. It wasn't his. His only responsibility was to create a safe environment for me to work through my triggers. But if they are pushing you to tell, they're just being nosy, and they're already showing that they don't respect your boundary. And people also need to earn the right to hear your story about that. Wait, does it do captions on the live? It did. I didn't know that. If so, that's kind of cool. Whoa. I don't think it used to do that. Well, yeah, now y'all can multitask and read the live while you're doing something else too. That's kind of cool. Okay. I'm starting to like not enjoy smelling like gasoline. If y'all weren't on here at the beginning, I just got done mowing the yard, and I'm starting to not like my. I don't like how I smell right now, so I'm getting ready to hop in the shower. So does anybody have like a last minute question or anything like that before I hop off here? You should go shower. I'm going to. I'm going to enjoy it. It's only a good smell at the NASCAR track. Yeah, I know. I do like the smell of gasoline. I know that's kind of weird. No, it's not weird. More people like the smell of gasoline than you think. But I don't like it as my cologne. We'll just say that. I just got very personal on this live with y'all. Is it normal for them to tell you that you're the narcissist? Absolutely. 100%. It makes sense because it's keeping you in that cycle of making you think that you were the problem. They did that throughout the whole relationship. They blamed you for everything. They gaslit you. They wanted you to think that you were the problem. So they're gonna do that afterwards too. All right, y'all. I do need to hop off here because I still also have to go to the grocery store to get stuff for dinner too. But I appreciate this live. It was fun. And like I said, just since some of y'all asked about it, so if you are interested in the group coaching that's coming up, that starts next Tuesday, August 1st. We're going over emotional management strategies, processing your grief, anxiety and paranoia, and reducing intensity of triggers. If you go to the link in my bio, it takes you to my website, and you go to the coaching services tab. It'll be on that page, or you can just send me a DM, and I will answer any questions that you've got, and also can send you the link. But please come, especially like I said, please come if you do feel like you're struggling with any of these, and especially if you are wanting to start that process of dating again. Do it, if nothing else, for the week. Then we talk about managing triggers and reducing the intensity of those, because you will be triggered in a relationship. That's not to be discouraging. It's just true. And I wish someone had told me that more and prepared me better for that. So if anything, do it for that. But outside of that, I hope you guys have a great day. As always, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your healing journey. And thank you for hanging out with me today. And I hope you guys stay safe, stay strong, and you're stay balanced. So love y'all. Have a great rest of your Friday and have a good weekend. Bye.